All right, now one more thing I want to say before I get started. I want to address this idea of the carbon dating, right? The 1988 carbon dating, because if you've heard anything at all about the Shroud, you probably heard it was fake, right? It was proven to be fake by this carbon dating study in 1988. So this is a big deal. It came out. I mean, it made headlines all over the world. It was widely anticipated, the results of this study. And it came out that the Shroud was made by a medieval forger. They dated the Shroud with carbon dating somewhere in the area of 1260 to 1390 AD. So in the minds of many skeptics, the case is closed. They're not even going to be open to it, right? The radiocarbon dating proved that the Shroud only goes back to the Middle Ages, therefore case closed, we're done. However, you need to know that there are many reasons to dispute these findings. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why we should not trust the results of this one carbon dating experiment. Reason number 1 is that the Shroud contains contaminants on it that can upset an accurate test. The Shroud is it's a linen cloth. It's like a coffee filter that's been collecting debris for, I say, 2,000 years. So there's all kinds of stuff on there, many contaminants that make it very difficult to study with carbon dating. So these contaminants, that kind of get embedded, in the textile, it can disrupt the whole carbon dating process. And we see this in the scientific literature. So, for example, we have a study here that concluded textiles left alone in normal atmospheric conditions are prone to becoming highly contaminated. The first observations made of the Turin Shroud under electron microscope by P.L. Baima Bologna and P. Borga and E. Morano in 1978. Sorry if I butchered the names. These tests showed a large amount of contaminating material that does not form part of the original cloth. Another reason why we can't completely trust the carbon dating experiment of 1988 is because of the sampling error. This sample that they used, they took it from a corner of the cloth, and other studies have shown, scientific studies have shown, that this corner is likely to be a medieval patch that was sewn on later and kind of woven into the original fabric. Scientific studies have shown that it appears to have a kind of a dye on it so that it matches the rest of the Shroud. And we see this, again, in the literature. Here's an article that said, microchemical observations prove that the radiocarbon sample was not part of the original cloth of the Shroud of Turin. The radiocarbon date was thus not valid for determining the true age of the Shroud. And then finally, the third reason why we can't trust the carbon dating test done on the Shroud is that there are strong other reasons, both scientific and historical, for dating the Shroud back much earlier, even to the 1st century AD. So we're going to look at some of those later. So the idea here, though, is that carbon dating is not the be-all, end-all of age testing, okay? There are other forms of evidence that have to be considered. We have other scientific studies that show that the Shroud is very old, and also historical records that show that the Shroud is very old. We can't just, dismiss all that and focus only on the carbon dating, okay? So I say for these reasons, the carbon dating study of 1988 in no way settled the issue on the Shroud. We have to be open to these other reasons. Let's go into some of those now.